Good evening, everybody.
Hello. Well, it is finally happening.
Yep.
We make jokes on other streams about people shilling for stuff, and here we are
Well, I
shilling
mean,
for
it's not
stuff.
so bad. We're chilling for our own stuff, so is it really that bad?
True. You may make a fair point. My acknowledgement of the irony still
I
stands.
would do an at everyone, but I kind of want the crowdfunding thing to be the first thing people get pinged for. And hello, Tiger Bean.
Hello. Yes, you are hearing it now here. Discussions of early conceptions.
As as soon as it turns 8 p.m. on my end is
For
when I click launch campaign.
soon as it's launched, wonderful discussion on the early developments of Monster Hospital.
And it is live. The clock is now ticking.
Yes, do the things. Well, okay, like we say do the things when really we're just kind of like go browse, and if it intrigues you, then do the thing. We certainly hope the discussion that is going on during this podcast will make it easier for you to be more engaged with the notion of, oh, this is fun. Let's do this. Oh, yes. The fun begins. So with that, with early introduction stuff out of the way, what do we do with discussions on Monster Hospital first? Are we just going through the base synopsis, or do we start actually discussing the early conception of the project? Because I know that I was brought in early, but not entirely early enough to know what else was going on, aside from the fact that it was a script and there was another writer that was needed.
Hold on, I'm posting the crowdfunding link. I think I think we'll start off at the beginning and say that
I was wondering when we were going to start discussions. There was a very eerie silence, and I
sorry,
was
I was
worried it was
sending
going wrong.
Sorry, it's just that now that it's live, I have to spread the link everywhere.
Literally everywhere. Not just the two servers that we're connected to. Nope. Absolutely not. Don't know what you're talking about. So, lead writer man.
Yes.
Why don't we start at the very beginning?
Alright, so some people know about that one Tumblr post that's like, hey, what if we had like a show about like monsters working in a hospital? And then Tumblr was like, oh my god, this should totally be a show. Well, somebody finally made it, except they made it into a comic book.
Except it was except when it was originally like thrown around as an idea, like looking for other people, it was supposed to be a show. At least to my recollection, when you were first chipping it out, because I remember very vividly, or at least vividly enough. It was like one day a while back. I don't entirely remember when exactly, but it was definitely at least was it a year ago?
I want to
Where
say about a year and a half ago.
all right, year and a half ago makes sense. That seems like the logical progression of time for that. I was just randomly browsing through my Discord, and I end up getting a message from you that was kind of at. I don't know if it was from you specifically or if it was from like you inviting me into a group chat. It might have been one or the other, but I'm just specifically remembering like being brought in with a message, and it was basically Slacker going, hey, I'm want to work on a script for something to pitch to Adult Swim, and I'm interested in looking for another writer. And I'm like, considering the fact that like my knowledge that I was a writer at the time was sort of thrown around a lot, I was just sitting and I was like, okay, sure, why not? So I was kind of brought in, and then I was immediately thrown in with the concept of, okay, so it's a person, just a regular ass person, and they're working at a hospital. But it turns out that all the other people working in the hospital are monsters except her.
Oh no, really wacky.
Yeah, it's real wacky, sweetheart. It's just kind of just so I hear it and I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. That has potential. And then it was after getting invited into a group chat that it immediately started setting up at least concepts for stuff to happen, or at least throwing around jotting ideas for like characters and stuff. And at least like from the shift from like the early group chats for it going forward into what it looks like now, there's definitely like changes that were made, because I very vividly remember when the concept was originally discussed, the tone was a little more like lighter and a little jokier in nature, unless you had the tone like down pat when
No,
you
it
had
was
originally
originally
conceptualized it.
No, it was originally going to be like a far lighter thing. Like, I wouldn't say it would be. I wouldn't say it was like at the level of like Matt and Dusty or Flintville, but. Are you guys going the Aaron Magruder route, making a comic first, then proceeding with the TV series? If this does end up becoming a series, it's probably going to be made by us.
Keeping it all in the house. It's kind of fun that way. Yeah, it's weird because I vividly remember when the,
because that's the thing. Like when you, because a lot of people in comics, they make comics solely so that they can pitch it to Netflix. But the problem with that is that let's assume that Netflix actually likes your idea and picks it up. They can then do whatever the hell they want to it.
Oh yeah, and that's apparent, and that's a big no for little indie startup stuff. It's like, yeah, going back to the original tone that was established. Like, I very vividly remember that it was a lot more jokier because it was something that was originally established to be pitched for Adult Swim. So there was at least this idea of like, okay, so we got this stupid concept. Okay, so we got this kind of quirky concept of fucking a human who works in a hospital full of monsters, and now we're sitting here, and then we're gonna be like, okay, let's start throwing around a bunch of really quirky ideas for characters. And it was like in this early period where like a lot of ideas for characters were thrown around, and
Yeah,
some of them stuck, whereas others did not.
yeah, we actually came up with a lot of ideas. Some of them we liked better than others, but the thing that really was like the make it or break it point was, can we make this idea into a compelling character? Like, is this going to be something that's going to be like a one-off thing, or is this something that we can actually use?
See, I think the reason why only a handful of characters actually like made it through the early stage and weren't just left behind was the fact that a lot of them were mostly just built around not entirely like specifically arcs, but more built on the fact of they were built around a gag.
Yeah,
which
like
is weird because
Mothman
like,
electrician.
oh yes, Mothman electrician.
That guy was the first guy to ever get art for the project. Actually,
Oh yeah, it's. I'm trying to remember how exactly that one looked. I only very vividly remember that the big gag was that it was essentially
he screws in a light bulb and then he just stares at it.
Because moths are attracted to lights. Apparently, I don't entirely understand why. Insert that one picture of a creepy moth sitting outside a window looking at a lamp here or some shit. Yeah, okay, it was characters like that really just had like singular gags that like would have been funny, and like personally speaking, I would have been fine writing because like for the most part, like characters that are mostly built around gags can be certainly compelling over time with like additional stuff, because like you would be building them up to be more than just their gags, but there were just characters that didn't really make it through the cut because for the most part it was really hard. The Mothman was mostly just built around just the gimmick of being fixated with lights and having a really weird voice, so there was like no way to like actually develop stuff aside from being maybe a background gag character or something.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So aside from them, the only other character that I can visibly remember. Okay, well, I say this when really there's like 3, maybe 4, if you want to count like his rewrite characters that kind of didn't really make it all the way to the end from the early phases of the development.
Like
there
the ghost,
was
like that one ghost that has to possess people in order to get the job done.
Okay. There's actually there's actually like a little story behind that one too, because I'm very vividly remembering that okay, maybe not as vividly as like I say I am, but that may have been one of the characters that I pitched, because I don't know if it's just me, but the really weird thing is that a lot of stuff that I will pitch for people is really high concept or like run on really weird concepts that are kind of outlandish even for other people's standards. So the big gimmick for the ghost character, and I am trying to remember his name off the top of my head, it might have been Howard or something, because I'm very vividly remembering the Mothman might have been called Phillips as a pun on the light bulb.
Yeah.
But I think the main gimmick, or at least the stuff that went into like the idea for the gag for the ghost character was typically typically speaking, ghosts give off electric energy. So it is common knowledge that ghosts will actually tamper with electronic devices when they're around them long enough. So the joke was that he couldn't actually do his job because he would always have computers on the fritz. So he would need to have possessed someone in order to actually work with a computer or an electronic and not have it be screwy while he's working. Looking back on it now, that could have been expanded into something interesting for the
In
newest
the yeah, but
iteration, but it really wasn't because like I don't think you were kind of looking deeper into him, so it was basically just taking the handful of characters that we did have, or at least the ones that stuck around for the longest for the early development, and then kind of going off from them for that. I'm remembering at least one of them, two of them were characters that I had kind of pitched. Well, one of them I pitched and she stayed for the long. She's staying for the long haul, and then one I actually pitched the original gag for, but then he totally just went to a different direction than I had figured he would, given the change in the sense of humor for him. But that's just me.
yeah, it's actually funny because because the whole idea of like a ghost being a handyman eventually ended up becoming like eventually merged into what is now Steve.
It's funny you say that because you mentioned the ghost character being the handyman that morphed into Steve's character, but the ironic thing is that Steve was already in the original early docket for the actual original cast. It
Oh
was just
yeah,
that
that's right.
it's just the fact that it's just the fact that Steve didn't entirely change as much, but only changed very slightly in the style of humor that went into him.
Uh,
Because
for those
for
for those who know Wraith, we literally just based Steve off Wraith.
yeah, is well, that was kind of the thing that fell into him as soon as like the later stuff came around. I don't think Wraith was the original conception for the voice for Steve's character when there was a conception. If you are actually looking at the docket or in the Kickstarter, Steve is one of the characters that is listed and is technically the de facto weird Lovecraftian creature who is also the handyman. When he was originally conceptualized, there was a like little gimmicky gag that was actually tied to him where because of the fact that he was a Lovecraftian creature and Lovecraftian creatures are known to like warp with reality and madness and whatnot, the joke was that Steve would show up when something was broken, and because reality kind of warps around him, he would fix something, and then as soon as he fixed something and then he left, the thing that he fixed would immediately break again. So it's essentially it's an ironic joke in the fact that nothing gets fixed in the hospital because reality just warps to make it seem like it wasn't fixed or seem like it was fixed. And I don't entirely know how long that actually stayed around for the longest time. I don't know if it's
It
stuck.
stayed around. I know it stayed around for a while.
Like what? The actual gag itself? Because I don't even remember if the gag stuck around that long. Because I think
I
I
remember.
don't know.
I
I don't
remember it was
remember.
something we would constantly talk about, but then we never actually put it in any scripts.
It's weird because like there was at some point where we just kind of like didn't even use the concept, and then it was at that point that we were just like, you know what? Let's just make him a walking meme,
I mean,
and
it
then
fits with his
and then
powers,
and then now he's just literally a walking meme. I mean, like
which makes
it's very
sense. Which
it's
makes more sense for a Lovecraft character than you would expect.
yeah. So there was like very little that could have been entirely done with the.
Tiger's upset that there's no Mothman. Well, we come up with a good character arc for the Mothman, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, we could have, but I don't know if it was time or worries on money constraints or whatnot, but it was he just
Nah,
kind of
it
lingered
was
off
it was
and did.
definitely a story thing. Because if I guarantee you, if we actually came up with like a arc for him, he probably would. Like that was the main reason why a lot of characters got axed. It was just like they were all either like one note characters, like gag characters, or we couldn't come up with like a good character arc for them.
Cutting to save character space.
Now,
Common
honestly,
common practice.
honestly, with how many characters Monster Hospital has, I wouldn't even use that as an excuse.
It's really weird because you say that, and I'm kind of looking it over, and I don't know. Maybe aside from like the fact that a lot of them are sort of occasionally like would show up, like it's. I would argue that our cast is, or the cast for Monster Hospital is not entirely that big, but I don't know. That might just be me.
Hey, our artist is here.
No.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, the true hero of our project. This is Xavier.
Say hi to the people, Xavier.
Hello. It is I.
Can't he at least be in the background? I don't know, Xavier, can we put the Mothman in the background?
Hell yeah. We always put the Mothman.
See, that's the thing, because like I'm sitting here with like you saying like, yeah, most of these people are just one trick ponies, and that's why a lot of them got axed, and like, yeah, that makes sense. But then like for the most part, I'm also sitting here saying like, wait a minute, can't the characters that are just kind of one shots also technically just be background characters? You know, kind of just random staff that work there and like have like don't
Yeah.
entirely serve a purpose, but at the same time just kind of sit there and are just there as like a background gag.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like the Mothman guy's entire thing was he would literally just screw in a light bulb and then he would go lamp.
It would be a funny joke of having as an electrician the Mothman. And
Yeah, that was exactly the concept.
That was
That was
exactly
the whole-
that was exactly what it was. An
Here, let me
electrician
give you
Mothman
like
that
the
had, like,
one
that-
piece.
had-
He was actually the
that had
first
a
piece of
hyper
concept art we ever did for him.
Lights.
He even has his own folder for some reason.
oh yeah.
Oh yes. It's just the hyperfixation.
Lamp.
It's just the hyperfixation on lights. That was like just the gag that was really funny with him.
Mm-hmm. But we already have one character who is like the handyman. Am I right? Which is
Yeah,
The-
that's
Oh yes, the walking meme. Yes, we just gone into a little bit of thing that used to be a gag with him, where reality warped when he was working on something, and then as soon as he left, reality reverted back to normal, and whatever he was working on broke again. So that was the entire joke for him until like
I mean,
I
it's
don't know,
not
it's-
too late for us to put that in an episode or something, but I guess we just didn't put it in a script yet.
Well, yeah, it's just that, and then we're also just sitting here, and then like time passed, and then we were just like, "Fuck it, we'll just make him walking shitboard.
Yeah, but let's be honest. What would be funnier to us? Like, that? Or, like, Steve suddenly apparitioning, like, 5 DVD copies of Jesus?
Yes.
Hey, look, guys, I got 5 DVD copies of Jesus.
Oh my god. Oh, yes. The wonders. Okay, so, we already threw Steve out there, and we already know Steve's in the mate. Steve's a part of the cast. Is there anyone else that we need to bring up, or do we just work down the line?
I think we should work down the line of the characters that are actually in the comic.
Well, Steve is in the comic, though.
Alright, well, Steve's out of the way, so who's next?
Well, I don't know who is next.
What about the main character?
Okay, cool. Talk about the main character.
Overrated.
Yeah, you're right. Main characters are overrated. Let's go over some of the weird ones.
I mean, everyone's been looking at Claire for the past couple things, so we might as well get the other characters on screen, okay?
Well, yeah. We could talk about how about Hans?
Yes, let's get him on screen. Hans, why are you so huge?
He's swole. Well, I mean, for a guy who digs a lot,
There we go.
takes bodies out,
Let's
it's a good workout.
yeah, let's move him so that he's not blocking the link to the Kickstarter. All right.
Sweet Jesus, he is huge.
So let's not beat around the bush. I think we can all agree that like the biggest thing that comes to our mind when we see him is the medic from TF2.
Yep.
If I'm remembering correctly from the early character designs for him, that was the general design philosophy for him, was just inspire him from medic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm new here. Not just kidding. Yeah, it's what you guys told me, that he is inspired a lot by the medic from TF2, in which I tried to take base a little bit on his facial expressions, his mannerisms, and such. And I, in my opinion, it's like I just don't like to copy, like plagiarism, or it's more like being inspired, but also trying to give him like a little bit of our own twist.
Right.
It's like, nah, man, you make that shit wholly unique.
Nah, man, this is my original scientist characters, like like my original Sonic character.
Yeah. Donut steal.
Do not steal original scientist.
Ah, yes.
But but the thing about the medic is he is a stereotype of the scientist. He's German, which is a stereotype.
Yeah, so
for...
it's like it comes full circle.
Yep. So it's
well,
like
as expected.
And I think that's the whole like the big tough guy is Russian, right?
Uh-huh.
He's got that thick Russian accent. I think and the most unique character. I think the rest are kind of unique in their own way. Like we don't know what Pyro is except a maniac. The freaking Demo Man
I do
is
not feel many men, but that thing, it scares me.
The Demo Man is black and Scottish. It's like something that I was
I'm
not
a black
expecting.
Scottish Cyclops.
The Scottish Cyclops.
Yes. Now if I'm looking him over, I don't know if there was like multiple different variations for early sketches that were for Frankenstein, if I recall correctly. I think because for the most part, like the character design kind of just stuck after the first design, and we were just kind of looking and we're like, yeah, this makes sense. This is exactly what we imagined.
I don't even think it was that. I think we just liked the original the first design that much that we're like, you know what?
Which was the artist that you had, right? Not me.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not taking
see
credit on
that's
this.
the weird thing because we were actually friends with the artist who did the original sketch for Frankenstein, but then for some reason she disappeared off the face of the earth.
Could be personal stuff.
Yeah, but it's weird because it's because she scrubbed her entire online presence. It's like she never existed.
That is weird.
That's not why we. By the way, that's not why we brought you on. But
no,
I like the reason why I wanted you on specifically was because you actually had a really good knowledge of like how comics worked, and I didn't.
Yeah, it's comics is a whole different animal. You know, it is kind of like basically making a movie, except it's a shortcut. But it's still like a lot of work depending on what kind of story you want to tell.
It's like, hey kids, you want to look at storyboards? Here are storyboards.
Yeah, basically that's how it's still a little bit different because in comics it's more complicated because with storyboards you can basically just write down and draw like an arrow. In comic book form, it's better not to do that. It's like let the image tells you what's going on, and the dialogue is just for either exposition, character interaction, etc. And also, you know, a good sound effect always works.
Oh yes. I would point out that
yes, Senior Apples, I am here.
I'll argue that like I had like at least a limited grasp of like comic design because I do remember like sort of being a person who helped make really cheap comics back in middle school and elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
But it was never entirely like super professional. It was only after like taking a few screenwriting classes and eventually finding out how the fuck to format a comic book script is that I was like, aha! It was only after that shit that I was like, haha! Now I understand. My visual eye for detail will definitely help now.
Oh yeah. No, I honestly wish sometimes I was at least a decent writer because I feel a little bit like I'm George Lucas. Not that I want to put rocks on characters and hide them well. or replace everything with CGI, but it's more like
you want to put sand everywhere that's rough and coarse and it gets everywhere.
Yes, exactly. No, but it's more like there's
not here
who
where
have
everything
really good
is
ideas.
nice and soft and
I've always been like this. I have some really interesting ideas, but the problem is I admit, how the hell am I gonna do this? How am I gonna write this? How because it's I'm not really good at that. I'm not really good at writing descriptions, or that's why I draw. And trying and also like give a character their own voice. You know, it's like you have to keep that consistency of the characters, the way they behave, and not lose again that same consistency. I wish I was at least a decent writer, but you know, it's like it's always good to have a little help, some friends.
Oh yeah, it totally makes sense. Stuff that's generally just collaborative efforts are usually stuff where like everyone can pitch in and throw their weight around. Yeah, for the most part, I don't actually think Frankenstein went through that many other changes. There may have been changes with like how exactly he is portrayed within the script, but though, okay, well I say that because like he technically doesn't even change that much in regards to how the script writes him, because he's always he is the I'm assuming quote unquote bad boss, but also he's the eccentric German goofball.
I see him kind of like a Michael Scott, where technically he is a bad boss, but he's not exactly like
an asshole.
Exactly. Like I think at one point we refer to him as like the Michael Scott of medicine.
Yeah. I always wanted like explore more like on his design, because he has that luscious hair and he's blonde. He has a little goatee and everything. But I don't know why, like the original design from the original artist, in which I wanted to respect and, like okay, let me try that design, then do something else. But for some reason, I think it fits. It stands out. If it's gonna be your main character, it's gonna have to stand out and not look bland.
And we have to admit, the man has very striking detail.
Just like his personality.
Loud, boisterous, and slightly dangerous.
Only slightly.
If he hurts you by accident.
Now that I think about it, he would be the type of person who would unironically say, "Oh, how the turntables."
Oh, how the turntables have. Okay, yeah. I will say, considering the fact that like the stripes stayed around for a while, definitely just fits, and that's just also a typical trait for Frankenstein as having like the streak for being the mad scientist person.
I mean, they always have the crazy hair. I mean, look at Doc Brown.
Godzooks!
Zoinks.
That stuff happened. Okay, 2 down, couple hundred more to go. Alright, who is the other oddball working at this weird fucking hospital that we're going to be discussing?
Let's go with Wendell.
Alright, let's go with Wendell.
Wendell.
The hoser.
Oh, he's big. Oh, he's a big antler fella.
That big fella antler. Don't you know? Oh wait, no,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Minnesota.
I don't know. He could be Minnesotan. You don't know.
I don't know, like, it's kind of hard to tell under the...
just the growl and the skull and the fur and the everything.
Yeah, but underneath all that, he kind of sounds like... He kind of sounds like somebody from up north,
Oh god.
Hey, he could be either from Wisconsin too.
Yes, to answer your question, Mr. Apples, he is in fact a Wendigo. There was a joke somewhere with his name. Actually, it's really weird. I'm just remembering this. The way that he's pointed out in the Kickstarters that he is technically also a surgeon, but he also like has like vague he has like vague morgue duties. And if I'm recalling correctly, there was originally a character that was literally a necromancer who worked in the morgue. And I think the only jokes that we could come up with them was...
He was also a necrophile.
Yes.
Ew.
The typical sort of rumor joke that the man who raises the dead also likes sleeping with the dead. If I'm recalling correctly,
Oh I'm glad that's got changed.
Yeah, so if I'm recalling correctly, he was scrapped, and then Wendell is essentially pulling double duty in such a way.
Yeah, like as soon as the patient's no longer alive, that's when Wendell digs in.
hmm
Figuratively and literally, I guess. Now, if I'm trying to remember, there actually was like during his early designs, there was at least two different designs for him. There was like the bulk. There's the sort of bulky one that was kind of shown off that we kind of looked at and we were like, oh fuck yeah, we absolutely love the way this one looks. And then there was also another variation of his design that was kind of more dangly,
Dangly. Yeah,
more
like
dangly with like sharp claws and such that looks like he wouldn't be able to wear gloves. And we're kind of just sitting here and we're like, wow, really striking. But we both kind of gravitated towards the bulkier one. Okay, well at least I gravitated towards the bulkier one, and Slacker was the one who was kind of sitting there, and he was like, I like the bulkier one. Can you take a little bit from the dangly one and then move it over to the bigger one to see how it looks?
yeah, because it's like the original design from what I can remember of Legends of Wendigo is that they are gangly and like Slenderman-esque, because they represent hunger. You know, the non-stop hunger from the Canadian mythology of the Wendigo.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense, but when it comes to like design wise, it could happen, because I can, because the thing about the Wendigo, and I'm pretty sure that this is, and from what I've heard and read the stories and the scripts, is that the character will go a little bit out of control in the future, and that's where the design will change, because the Wendigo is not like a monster based on a creature. It's actually it used to be human, and I think that's why I wanted to go a little bit more human-esque with him. Like he still has that humanity, but he will lose it once he goes feral.
Yeah.
If I'm recalling correctly, there was like a very early point during the development of characters where there was a lot of research that was thrown around specifically to come up with like different concepts for characters.
hmm
Yeah, and Tyke
And
was bringing up like the whole like prepare for any backlash. Like this is kind of like a taboo thing, and we actually did like a lot of research on like the whole Wendigo thing when coming up with Wendell. And that's kind of why we made Wendell the way he is. And who's the lead artist for Monster Hospital? Xavier, this guy right here.
Who, me? Yeah, you.
Yeah, Jordy says that he really admires the work that you've put in.
Oh, thank you. I'll do what I can. I get paid by peanuts. Nah, just kidding. Not.
paid with peanut shells.
They make good coffee.
They crunchy make good coffee, and they can't pay my health insurance.
These peanuts are making me thirsty.
I also like to smoke them.
Delicious.
Oregano and nutmeg is good. No, not yet.
I will definitely say, for the most part, like out of the cast character design wise, I actually do like the way Wendell looks specifically, because I actually do like the general harshness of his lines and the sort of realistic look that's given around for his the way the fur looks. You can definitely tell that because of how much detail is on him, it looks like oh shit, does he even belong from a different comic or something?
Yeah, it's Wendell is definitely like his. Eventually, if we get to his issue, that's definitely like one of, if not the darkest ones out of the whole Monster Hospital set.
Oh yeah, that's another thing to remember going
True.
forward. When the big shift in tone from early Monster Hospital to Monster Hospital now is fun thing that Slacker really wanted to do was every episode sort of has a point attached to it.
Maybe not even really a lesson, just a point.
Yeah, that's why I didn't say lesson. I just said point. So like, take of that what you will. Now that you mentioned Mr. Apples, I really want to make an old man Simon Belmont joke now. There will be a point in time where we will be able to do that.
There is an old man character in this, though.
What are we talking about? We just talked about Frankenstein.
Well, unless the old man we're talking about is Raphael. Because he is old, right?
Yes, but he's also a twink.
I wish you would not speak so cruelly of me while I am here.
Boomer twink. I don't know.
Oh, should we talk about him next?
Why not?
Alright.
Well, he was brought up, why not?
Tiger says, I wish for more cryptids. We already talked about Steve.
Well, vaguely. Never really showed a picture of him, but there may be a point where we do.
Have you talked about
His
have you
characters
shown
are
Steve
peculiar.
already?
The what?
Have you
We
shown
never-
Steve
We
already?
talked about Steve. We didn't show Steve because
okay.
the really fun thing about Steve is that Steve actually went through like a handful of. Well, actually, I don't even know. Did Steve actually go through a lot of changes?
Yeah,
in design?
He definitely went through a bunch of design changes. He was originally going to look more like in my mind, he was originally going to be like he was going to be really based off like Cthulhu, but then it was Xavier here who said,
"Wait a minute,
hey,
if I remember,
what if we base him off like this other Lovecraft creature?" And I'm like, I don't know. But then I saw it, and I'm like, you know what? This actually works a lot better.
I vaguely remember when where the actual sort of Cthulhu design for him was out. The idea that was given was like very specifically Cthulhu Wario.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Hey, Raphael. Hello.
There he is.
This the man.
You know,
if you could not tell by the claws and the fangs, he is
Raphael,
two tries to figure out what sort of monster he is.
I'll give you a hint. He's not the werewolf.
Shh! Don't imply that we have one.
Oh, I'll tell you. It's a leprechaun.
That's a tall leprechaun.
Hey, it's my interpretation of a leprechaun.
Super tall leprechaun.
You know, a part of me is kind of...
I'm actually mad we didn't come up with a leprechaun concept for a character now. Damn it.
There's so many like interesting ideas with leprechauns that it's not
He could have worked for the hospital's finances.
Actually, you know what? There's still one issue I'm trying to figure out what to write,
God.
how to write it, so maybe I could fit him in there.
He could have been the accountant.
He's, from what I remember, supposedly leprechauns are like SCP-173. They will disappear if you blink. Like, they can willingly disappear from one spot to the next if you lose sight on them. And I think they also have this OCD
Are they
thing.
my dad?
Oh, dude, harsh.
Damn.
Not an elf, but you're actually really close. David Bowie's actually
David Bowie.
little closer. I think the original concept when we were throwing around the idea for Raphael's design was not David Bowie, but Kiefer Sutherland from The Lost Boys, right?
Yeah.
Well, that was what Xavier brought to the table. My original idea for Raphael was literally
I didn't argue.
it was literally just make him a Brandon Rogers character, and throughout development, he got nerfed hard.
Super hard.
Like, to give you an idea of how far the Brandon Rogers idea went, like, I even wrote, like, some lines that wouldn't be out of place in, like, a Brandon Rogers video. But yes, Raphael is the vampire of the cast.
Oh, yeah. He's a vampire. Super peculiar looking vampire. Super dead skin, black sclera, and pale pupils and stuff.
But with an 80s fashion, baby.
At least he's fabulous. Yeah, I very vividly remember Raphael was one of the early characters that was conceptualized, and he was wildly different than what he is now. Because, like, well, okay, it's not even that he's wildly different, but it's the fact that, like, what he was originally was just a lot snarkier and a lot harsher. Now at this point, he's just kind of toned down. I don't know if that's really a loss or not.
Gotta be fabulous for work.
You can tell because of the checkered. You can tell because of the half checkered pants.
By the way, the link for the Kickstarter or the Indiegogo campaign, it's on screen right now. So if you're not looking at the screen, look at the link, write it down, spread it like wildfire.
You know,
Okay, Jordy's asking, what are we getting in Arachnid character?
Arachnid, huh?
I don't think we even considered that during development. Like, it never came up.
Well, we went with other creatures, though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like there may have been ideas, maybe, but there was never a point in time where we were looking around and we were like, we want to make a character that's literally a spider person. Though, to be fair, given the fact that they can work as fucking background characters, they can very easily be done.
Right, and if it did, like, come up during development, they probably fell prey to, like, the number one reason why every other character got axed. We couldn't come up with a story arc for them.
Yeah.
Oh, yes!
That's the best part. It's like we can, and if people enjoy certain characters, you know, like, as this happens very often, and where if there's a specific character, even if it's a cameo, but you want to see more or like be part of the group, it's like, you know, it's like something we can play with if it works. That is not all because not always all concepts or all ideas work depending on the universe or the world that you're building on.
Jordy's like, damn, I guess I'll have to get my nurse spider fixed somewhere else. Well, technically there is a sexy nurse, but we'll get to her in a bit.
You have a really weird. You got a really weird fetish, Jordy.
Chalice is like, get ready for my $100 drop where you'll be first to make me in your comics. Do it, Chalice. Give me your money.
That is not him like. That is not him trying to, like, fake goju. That is him literally throwing the gauntlet down and seeing if you'll do it.
Do it!
It's literally just playing chicken with a Kickstarter.
And what's wrong with spider ladies? Come on, hot. They got them legs.
Yeah, there's nothing
Yeah,
wrong with spider women.
Yeah, like, I don't think we were ever opposed to putting them in the comic. It's just that it never came up.
There were a lot of concepts that were, like, thought about later on, and then we were, like, kind of I remember, like, coming up with, like, loose concepts for people, and then I was, like, messaging Slacker about it, and I was like, fuck, why didn't we come up with X for a character? And he's like, well, it wouldn't have made sense. And then he's like, you know what, fine.
Like here's the thing. One of the most, and this is actually I think I came up with this idea when we started it, is that it's not even a main character. It's not even like a secondary character. It's a background character. But in his nature, it makes sense, and it's a monster, and it's one of the most popular type of monsters that's been going on, especially in video games, and that is a mannequin.
Yeah, yeah, you were the one who came up with that, actually.
Yeah. He's just a furniture, but he can move.
Yeah,
You just don't know. You have to
it's
pay
like every
attention.
frame he's in a different position.
Just different positions, like from panel to panel. It's just really peculiar. It's just there. It's just kind of like once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Like somebody roasts Claire for being basic, and then and then in the next panel, the mannequin has their hands over their mouth, like, oh.
Oh shit! Oh shit, son!
Even sometimes there are people who are gonna leave like hats, scarves, and I think there was one time in where he has a scarf in the design, and someone put it in, but it's like now that person was never heard, and he still has the scarf because he doesn't want to let it go.
Is there any rejected art pieces or storylines you can share with us? I think that would probably be better for when, like, the series concludes. Aliens kind of is out of the range for what we considered, because we wanted to stick to, like,
it's
monsters
funny
and supernatural.
It's funny you say that because an alien character was thrown around, but they didn't stick for that long because they morphed into something else. Is there Satan? No, but there is a character that it kind of looks like Satan.
Close. I'll say that much. Close. You'll see in a second why I say that.
I was gonna say the fact that they constantly. The fact that it was mentioned, you might as well just show her off. I mean, like there's no reason not to.
Is there anything that we should talk about Raphael here? Like,
well, I took him off screen already, but yeah, okay. Like I said, he was originally going to be based off Brandon Rogers, but when we started showing the script to people, that seemed to rub people the wrong way. Gee, I wonder why.
No sense of humor.
Is the character that looks like Satin Slacker. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to meet Lilith.
Oh boy. Would you guys believe... would you in the audience believe me if I said that this was a character that I conceptualized for this concept? It is very funny because she was actually a very early concept character when she was brought up, because this was like very early on when we were conceptualizing early staff members, and a character that I had thought of would be like, well, of course, like a succubus would be like a really obvious, like, hello, nurse sort of thing. But the really weird thing is, like, the more that I was kind of thinking about, the more that I was kind of inspired from, like, a video game character that I remembered reading about from a game that I really want to play. If anyone has ever heard of the game Planescape Torment, there is a character in there called Falls from Grace. And Falls from Grace is a really weird character in the grounds that she is a chaste succubus. So, based on that idea, when the succubus character was conceptualized, the joke was, instead of it being chaste, the succubus Lilith in question turns out to be involuntarily celibate. She comes on way too strong, and no one gets it.
Hold on, I'm gonna play a clip that perfectly sums up Lilith's energy.
So yes, if I have to very quickly, like, give a brief concept for Lilith as a character, femcel succubus is all I'm really pointing out, because it's really weird because there was a lot of jokes that I could come up with for a character that was trying really hard to like come on way too strong for someone, and then it kind of flies past everyone's heads, and then it's just at that point that looks really, really desperate.
It's like everyone's Johnny's best friend from The Room. I was wondering if someone would get that.
Well, to answer your question, we really aren't going into frontier levels. There is actually a bit more of a deeper. There is technically deeper stuff going on with Lilith's thing, and that is stuff that is addressed later. There's sort of a reason.
Like
there's sort of a.
Yeah, pretty much every character that we're showing off, except maybe Steve, has their own like issue dedicated to them.
And I can't entirely say that much, but if I can say only a teeny bit more, I was going to say there is kind of a reason why she's trying really hard.
Is it because she's a succubus and you know what is a rite of passage for them?
No, but good guess.
Anyway, I had this clip loaded up, like I was saying before, like if I had to pick a clip that perfectly describes Lilith's energy, it's this one.
Imagine my shock in air quotes when I mentioned the idea to Slacker, and Slacker was like, immediately went on to giving her the typical mannerisms of a porno character. To be fair, that was
character development on the god tier Steve. No, you see, Steve is already perfect. He doesn't need character development. Okay.
Yes.
So here's the thing. So the actual like 13 issue plan, Steve doesn't have like an episode, but we did have like ideas of like maybe an encore episode where it's literally just Steve being like a really big goofball. But yeah, if you want Lilith's energy, it's this isn't a beach, this is a bathtub. Just that clip.
Again, imagine my shock. To be fair, I shouldn't have entirely been surprised. I should have expected that it was immediately going to go into porno territory.
Here he is. He is the boy.
We should probably bring up like the early concept art for him too, just for like people to see how wildly different he changed.
You know what? Fair point.
Well, hello everyone.
Hi.
Hi everyone, Scott the Waz here.
Whoa, that is a...
I was going to say, if he were here, Wraith probably would have done that joke funnier than me. Also, hey, look, the original concept art. Would you believe us if I said that? Would you believe us if we said that was what Slacker originally wanted Steve to look like?
Well, the thing is, Tiger, a lot of the scrap characters didn't even make it to like the concept art phase. Jordan's like, it's Wraith. Yes.
Funny how that works.
Yes.
There was a reason we brought up early on that Wraith was essentially the inspiration for the voice and the humor. The voice technically fit both designs, but it technically fits the final design a lot better. Because it definitely fits the really weird wriggly, squatch and stretch feel to him.
Yeah, it's like when you told me this, like Cthulhu, and to me, it's like for much how I enjoy, Call of Cthulhu and such, but it's like I explored more different Lovecraftian creatures. Is that there's so many. It's just that Cthulhu got a lot of clout, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody knows, but Cthulhu is kind of like its own thing, and I wanted to create something that it's who is a mix of two different Lovecraftian creatures. One is called the Yith, who are inventors, in which they look almost exactly like how Steve looks here, and Yogg-Sothoth, who is actually, the spaghetti monster, nothing but tentacles and eyes, just a glob.
If I'm remembering correctly, when we actually got around to accepting his final design, like the one thing that we really thought was really funny was the fact that because of how massive and how oddly shaped he is, the thing is Steve would be somehow shifting in shape and size in every panel he's in.
That's the interesting thing, because in the Dunwich Horror, there's this monster who is kind of a hybrid of human and Yogg-Sothoth, and it's it's invisible, but because it's struggling to be in our reality, and supposedly that's how it dies in the end. It's like, oh, it's like my existence. I'm not supposed to be existing in this reality. But with him, I kind of want to make him like somehow his background can be a little distorted. Like something's off. He's not supposed to be here, but he's there.
Needless to say, Steve is the meme character. Kind of like Dusty. He's sort of like the one character who you can pretty much make any kind of meme around.
Well, that's because Steve is, he is all about knowledge. And you know what they say about knowledge. With knowledge comes great a Lamborghini on your garage full of books.
I knew that's where you were going!
Ah, yes.
Knowledge. He's the Tai Lopez, not Instead of bringing knowledge to everyone, it's like, nah, these humans can barely understand.
His intelligence is so high tier that it comes out as like shitlord memes, and that's why no one can understand it.
Oh, by the way, Steve's name is actually has like the biggest air quotes in the world around them.
It's just like air quotes the size of Jupiter, and then like between them is like in regular tiny text, Steve.
I thought it was more like.
There's one more thing we need to say about Steve, and I'm gonna bring up like one of his concept arts to show you what I mean by this. But he's also a bit of a weeb.
Weeb trash.
Hey ho! I spot a weeb.
I love that. By the way, I love that expression of it, like his eyes like really wide open.
little Zoidberg.
You need a lazy handyman to work around your hospital? Why not Zoidberg?
No, you see, I can't fix it because I would have to put down my waifu to do it.
Funny Squid Woman. Oh god. Yeah, he is essentially. He's just the meme.
Tiger's like, I see this man is cultured with that Cthulhu body pillow.
It's like, even if we could come up with something for him, there was no way it would have stuck. It just wouldn't have made sense.
That's why if we ever do make, like, that issue with Steve, it's literally just gonna... Like, the whole idea of, like, his episode would have been... It was literally just him crashing, like, a cult dedicated to him. And just messing with everyone.
Okay, my favorite corrector. Okay, I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that he's probably gonna be everyone's favorite corrector at the...
I mean, no...
By the time it gets finished.
I mean, no shit. I mean, despite what he is, he's like one of the few guys who actually seems to be grounded.
It's like, aside from, you could pick from all these really interesting characters that have all these interesting stuff going on, and you choose to instead have your favorite character be the meme lord Cthulhuoid Squid Man?
Yes.
The spaghetti monster.
He doesn't even have bones.
Of course they do. It's just they're very chocolatey.
It's just a bunch of cartilage. Yes.
Wait, why
Wonderful
don't your
design.
limbs grow back, pussy?
Exactly.
Oh, joyous day that is. Talking about Steve. Okay, cool.
Alright, let's see, who's next?
Who's next on the chopping block?
Then I guess Steve is gonna have to be like Slimer in the Ghostbuster. Monster Hospital, and Steve.
Actually, speaking of Ghostbusters, we should probably bring her in now.
Fucking, I was about to say fucking Steve as Slimer. Does that mean like Monster Hospital is gonna have its own version of Ecto Cooler, but with Steve as its
since
mascot?
we're talking about Ghostbusters, we might as well talk about
Yes.
Jean, who's kind of based on Janine from Ghostbusters.
Oh hey, he's a snake
I
woman.
mean, we don't have spiders, we got Snick. Come on, Snicks are cute too.
Yeah, you know, snake woman. Actually, if I remember vividly from her concept art, she actually went through like a wild change from
I
like
think we went through more
something
color-
that was
Yeah.
more vaguely human to something that was more snake-like, and then like
hold
at
on, let me
that
actually-
point it was just a
Yeah, let me pull up
hybrid
the
mix of them
concept art.
both.
I think I could give you like the concept art of like between the two actually.
Yeah, because aside from like just like the minor shift of like the monster design, because like for the most part, like we both kind of agreed that
Is
we kind of
drinking
liked it, even though
Steve
despite the fact that
juice,
like
is that a tier reward? No, it's literally just I don't know.
we don't know what's in it.
No, don't drink my apple juice.
That's my water.
You don't want to
You
know
know,
where that comes from.
I have a
Oh.
dangerous joke I can make. I don't know if I can make it here though.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't then. Okay, so for the most part,
Like it's not racist or anything, but it's still kind of gross.
okay, so for the most part, going back to Jean, for the most part, like this was like the one time Slacker and I were kind of like divided on one thing, because for the most part, like I was fine with either or design, but like for the most part, I actually really liked in the concept art when there was like the design for like Jean looking more humanoid. So like that was sort of my thing. There was like really interesting details. There was like these kind of like little slit marks that were like on the side of her neck that I looked at and kind of reasoned like, oh, okay, so like she probably gets really pissed at something, and then like those like open up and become her snake hood. But then when the monster design was shifted, and then we were like, oh yeah, this looks much better. What is this project? This project is a comic.
Like, you got his papers that I asked of you. Remember, she gotta have that New Jersey accent.
Yeah, it's more New Jersey than like the typical. It's not like the typical snake voice.
Okay, you say New Jersey accent, but I am from Central Jersey. No one in Central Jersey talks like this. No one in Jersey that I know talks with an accent unless they're from North Jersey, right near New York.
Well, I didn't say that it's like Central Jersey. I mean, could be, like you said, from up north. Or she could be from Boston. Point is, she's from New York.
Or the true chili voice. God. So yeah, for the most part, like if I'm
Oh
remembering,
yeah, here's that concept art that was like.
Took you long enough. I was about to say I was wondering when you came out with it.
I was listening. I'm sorry.
Like, yeah, for the most part, that was like the wild design for it. And, like, the shift was like real peculiar. We went with the one on the right, and then for the most part, like after that, like the big thing that we were going with for her was what colors are we going to make her?
That was the toughest part. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's like I actually originally I actually wanted her green originally.
Too basic.
And it's really weird. Like I think we
I
did
wanted
see
red.
like I think we did see shots of her that were green, shots of her that were red. I think I
have
might have been the
green,
one that
red,
suggested,
and then purple, which we ended up deciding on purple.
and then I'm sitting here and thinking like I might have been the one that suggested purple, though that might have been
I think
just
you
me.
were actually.
Because it's really weird. Because like if we went with like some extra colors, she would have like more color swap palettes than like characters from Smash.
Choose your fighter.
Jean. No, we do not have a Brainfreezerrr. No, we do not have a Brainfreezerrr Smash Brothers game coming out, though we wish that we did.
Who would be the man? That roster would be tiny right now, though.
Okay, just give it some time.
Choose your character. You get Matt and Dusty, or you get Wolfgang. Actually, let's talk about Wolfgang next. He's actually, outside of Steve, he's my favorite character. But before that, I'll be right back. I'll put him on screen so you guys can start talking about him.
There's only $12 still in this pot, Chalice. Where is that $100 you promised us?
Give us your money.
It's only the only thing standing between you and immortality and Monster Hospital comicdom is $100. Oh yeah, here we go. He's the big buff dude. The bigger buffer dude. Because if I'm remembering correctly from a height chart, he's actually not that tall when he's in his human form, but when he's in his werewolf form, he's fucking gigantic.
Huge. Yeah.
Huge.
It's a werewolf.
Yeah. literally just a werewolf.
That's why. But I don't know. It's like there's so many interpretations of werewolves. And I think
we didn't want to make him a giant dire wolf with a little barrel on his neck like a Saint Bernard. That would have been too fun.
Could be a joke.
It's really weird. Now that I say that would have been really funny. Like, there's all this big talk about him being this giant, strong, burly werewolf, and then he transforms. He's just this giant Saint Bernard wolf that has a little thing on his mouth, on his thing, like just big monster Beethoven.
You could say Prince.
Large lad.
Lad.
Hello, Terry. How are you today,
Hello,
sir?
Terry.
Welcome to the chat. We have been in very small discussions of like characters that we know for a fact are showing up in the comic, and one of them is Wolfgang. If I'm recalling correctly, when he was conceptualized, I don't know if you remember Slacker describing him as this, but Slacker was really big on like describing him like in personality as Wayne Brainy. Wayne Brady from Whose Line, and among other things.
I think also I don't know much about names of characters, but I know from Scrubs. I think
he actually does look like another character from Scrubs. So that might just be because the colors of his Scrubs themselves are such a plain color. Actually, yeah, this is actually a really fun thing that I actually learned when I was doing research for this, because we were I don't know if we were actually like getting like really confused about like the colors for scrubs, but because like we were sitting and we were looking around and like I was finding and it was like, okay,
Yeah,
so to
her.
clarify, like scrub colors are usually like a really big deal for hospitals, specifically for surgeons, because they have to wear like very distinctive bright colors that like if blood splatters on them, then like they will immediately know, okay, there's blood on me. Which is really weird because like I think you might have mentioned somewhere in Canada where they actually do a thing where their scrubs are red.
Well, in the end, it's not that they're red. It's just it's a very strange color decision by David Cronenberg. And some of his movies, they wear red. But I don't think it's a Canadian thing. It's just because he is from Canada. But it's more about artistic choice. It's symbolism, but I'm not sure what it means.
Hey, I'm back.
Yeah, all right.
What
Then,
I missed?
yeah, we were just kind of discussing stuff about Wolfgang, and I briefly mentioned that when he was described to us personality-wise, you had mentioned that the big inspiration was Wayne Brady.
It was William Brady, Will Smith, like especially like '90s Will Smith.
You know, super hokey Will Smith, Fresh Prince Will Smith.
Alive,
much.
Will Smith. Wait, no.
Yeah,
But
you know Wolfgang. Yeah, you know Wolfgang's the type of guy that would like walk in on like some very strange family moment, and then he would go like "Barbecue!" or something like that.
He's also the type of guy that would probably steal your girl if he didn't already have one.
But he is a good boy.
Yeah, he's a good boy. Like I said, he's probably one of my favorites in the cast. Like
Yeah,
if not
Yeah,
my
Clean
top,
Record was-
like if not my top pick, definitely top 3 along with like Steve.
Yeah, it's like he has this. From what I've read, he has that like a very likable aura to him. Someone that it's like you would like to hang out and drink some beers in the daylight.
Just this general charm of being the really
Chad.
being the really nice bro.
Yeah, like a black Chad. That's exactly how Shadow described him when I showed him this issue.
Fucking just fucking that and like just Chad bro.
Steve calls him a furry.
Can you see why? Actually, there's a really peculiar thing that is like there's actually like I think the big confusing thing was like how to actually get him to transform like more commonly, and then like there is like sort of a really kind of peculiar workaround that exists within the hospital for that.
Yeah, like the whole idea is that he still is that instead of just a full moon, he transforms whenever he's exposed to moonlight.
How does that?
So the idea is that the hospital has like these artificial moonlight creators installed so that when they turn those on, like when they need like some muscle, they turn those on and Wolfgang turns into his werewolf form during the day.
So yeah, you know sun panels? Basically those, but with moonlight. Or like the equivalent of fucking sun lamps. Just that, but with moon. And yeah, he's an absolute goof aside like from his super vicious looking werewolf form.
Any lizard people other than the snake, unless you count gargoyles, probably not.
Speaking of gargoyles,
Wait a minute, do we want to go with them or the other guy first?
What other guy? Oh. Well, let's actually watch the other guy. Shirley.
Yeah.
he's very serious about his job, and don't call him Shirley.
This is Houdini. Mind reader, psychologist, and therapist. We based him off Leslie Nielsen.
May or may not be distant relative to Leslie Nielsen.
And Mr. Rogers.
Yes. I don't. Okay, here's the thing.
He's
like
like
looking.
He's kind of like if Mr. Rogers didn't take shit from anybody.
Okay, here's the thing though. I'm very certain like it was a really simple like write up for him. It's just someone who is a therapist who is a mind reader who sort kind of looks like Leslie Nielsen. And then like when the first concept art for him came out, we were like, "Wow, that is fucking wild."
Yeah,
Not what we expected at all. And
Yeah,
then like it was at that point we were like, "You know what? Fuck it. We like that better."
Is he based on a specific monster? No, I think like the whole mind reader thing was enough, but
Unless
you
you,
can tell that he's definitely not
count,
normal.
I was gonna say unless you count like psychics as being monsters, in which case, yeah, I guess.
It could be like warlocks, or people would confuse him. Like maybe he was confused being a warlock or a sorcerer at some point. But no, he's just psychic. That's it.
So yeah, for the most part, like in his concept art, he didn't really change from like his concept art to his final render, because like this was like the super striking. It was mostly just the details in the face that gave him like this super striking detail, and we were like, "Fuck, that is wild. Keep it."
Yeah.
Although if I remember correctly, there's like I don't know if there's concept art.
I think the only thing we told you to change was the fact that he was a grump and he shouldn't be smiling.
Yeah, because I actually drew him all happy and cheerful, but then we
Oh
told
wait,
me like,
I do remember. Oh wait, I do remember that. I do remember the thing of like him smiling, and it's weird because it's really peculiar to like see that with that face. But I actually almost liked it, and then like when he went right into his scowling, it's like okay, yeah, that fits the way he looks a lot better.
Because I think at first like, I didn't know that he was supposed to be like that. It's like, I'm not psychic.
You might be wondering why I named him Houdini.
Why?
Because it turns out the actual Harry Houdini is actually a skeptic. And by skeptic, I mean he was actually incredibly skeptical of, like, supernatural phenomenon.
And this is also despite the fact that didn't Houdini also go to seances with people?
It famously, I think he told, like, the woman who, his wife, like, when I die, this is the phrase that I'm, like, to give you an idea of, like, how skeptical this guy was. Like, I think on his deathbed, he told his wife that, hey, when I die, go to a seance and ask them to bring back my soul. If I don't say this phrase, they're a fake. Interestingly, though,
you know what? To be fair, we like the mug too. We like the idea of like,
you know
he
what?
Looks like
I want to put that on it. I want to put that design on an actual mug. I want to put that in the store.
It's just the design of like this super like crude look. And there's like really like fun things to do with his mug specifically, because it's just really funny that he just looks like the grumpiest motherfucker in the world, but then he has like a smiling mug on him.
Let's do it.
So yeah, Houdini is named after, like, one of the OG skeptics. Like, Houdini doesn't take shit from anybody. He's essentially, like, you tell him something outlandish, he'll be the first one to say, prove it.
Nice. That's the idea, actually, too, that his kids drew it for him. I don't know why I did that. It felt like maybe it's like a gift, or it could be from another character, or it could be a gift from Wolfgang's girlfriend.
His kids drew it for him. I like the idea that Houdini's just a fucking stick in the mud, and then he has like his kids draw faces on his mug for him.
its crude structure adds a layer of sarcasm. Yeah, it does.
Well, to be fair, Houdini is kind of sort of sarcasm personified, unless you want to count Raphael.
Well, Raphael's a lot more flamboyant. Like, Houdini's humor is, like, incredibly dry.
Actually, if I'm trying to remember, there's actually like a handful of characters that are sort of sarcastic in a way, and that may just be the fact that like
I think it's
sort
the fact
of
that both of us are writing it.
And I was gonna say that we both kind of have like this peculiar way of we both kind of have just this thing where we're like, well, okay, let's just have everyone be sarcastic fucks for like the entirety of their run.
Yeah, you see it in some characters more than others, but if we had to pick, like, one who was, like, the sarcastic grump, it would be Houdini. Anyway, let's move on to the last supporting characters. And I say characters because you don't really see them apart. Brock and Gary.
They're like
It's
bread and butter.
more than one.
Brock is a Minotaur, and Gary is a Gargoyle, and this is the security team.
Daddy Tar.
I knew it. I knew this was gonna happen.
We have predicted the future.
You know,
Okay, so yeah, this part.
I think my favorite part about Gary is that when I first came up with the idea for Gary, I thought, how would I create Chris Ray Gun as a cartoon character?
That is like by far when the character was conceptualized. That is literally the only thing that stuck with Gary. It's that Gary is literally just tiny little stone Chris Ray Gun, and then by extension, like Brock is essentially just Ray Gun's one black friend.
It wasn't until recently that I thought, you know who would also be a fun voice for Gary? It's a Gundam.
Oh, it's a Gundam.
Yeah, ain't that right, Stu?
You know what? At this point, we really are just creating fan service. And to be fair, it's not entirely that much of a problem with it.
Then if you want, like it's a Gundam or Chris Ray Gun, then for Gary, then with Brock, I want Macho Man Randy Savage. He's got that raspy voice.
Patrick Warburton and Gilbert Gottfried. Well, here's the thing. Like, Brock doesn't actually talk that much.
But he doesn't
is
talk.
The problem.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, Brock's really just a strong silent type. When he does talk, it's kind of like Master Chief when he talks. Like, it's kind of short and a bit terse. Like, he's very to the point if he needs to say anything.
Hold on.
Like,
What about Sam Elliott? You know who Sam Elliott is?
Yeah. Maybe Sam Elliott without the accent. Mr. T and Danny DeVito.
Those are gonna be like Arnie and then Joe Pesci.
Yeah. Arnie and Danny DeVito.
Twins. They're twin brothers.
Uh-huh. When the barbarian and the gnome become friends.
Is it like I remember that you said that Brock is based on Bunyan?
Yeah.
Paul Bunyan's yeah.
Yeah, at least the color was inspired by Babe from the Paul Bunyan mythos.
So no relation.
No relation, but I did want, like,
Yeah.
You know what? I think that's where the thought. You know what? My brain couldn't come up with anything more, so that's where the thought ends.
Gary and Brock, everyone.
It's them. They're here to keep you safe. Except maybe the twink. Oh right. The important thing about Gary is that he turns to stone from sundown to no. He turns into a statue from sunrise to sunset. So approximately from like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., he's literally just a statue out front.
Yep.
Now people put gum on me, a dog peed on me. I tell you, I don't get no respect. Does Brock throw Gary in stone form as a projectile at unruly clients? I don't think he's that light when he's a statue. But
you're heavy when you're stoned.
Yeah, I have thought about like some pretty funny positions for Gary to be in when he does turn into a statue.
It
like
does
maybe,
remind me, I think, from Gargoyles, the cartoon. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Gary's drinking right before he turns into a statue, and somebody's trying to get the bottle back.
No, Steve, or Steve could give him like a soda. That, hey, can you drink this in one sip? And then he drinks it and says, so why? What do you want me to do? And then the sunrise, and then he burps and he stays in that expression of burping.
Is the sun time universal, or is it only when he's put in direct sunlight? There is, like, the issue revolving around Brock and Gary kind of has, like, a loophole, but otherwise it's not at a specific time. It really is just sunrise to sunset, so it kind of varies day to day.
What else are we missing? So you showed all the characters?
Everyone except Claire.
The
and
also, I was gonna ask, like, if so does that mean that who is the muscle then? Is Gary just like to make sure everything is fine, or can he also provide the muscle?
I think Gary thinks he can provide the muscle, but in reality, that's Brock.
I mean, Brock. I mean, sorry, not a Gary. Brock.
I think it's a close tie between Brock and Wolfgang.
Mm-hmm.
But when you need, like, heavy lifting, you never just get one guy.
Yeah. Gotcha. I think. Because, like, I'm always curious, what does Gary do when he's not, like, a security guard?
I think he's a statue.
I mean, Brock. Sorry, shit.
What does Brock do?
Yeah. When he's not working.
I don't know, maybe he barely fits into his car.
He drives. That's a new one.
I haven't actually thought about what Brock does on his off time. Like, you don't see a lot of... We haven't done a lot of that in the series outside, like, maybe a couple characters.
Mm-hmm. I see.
Because Claire, Wolfgang, and Hans are the ones who really get a lot of screen time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So show us the girl, the star.
I mean, technically you're already looking at her, but I can pull up her render.
Do it anyways. Nah, just kidding. Claire,
It's her. It's the main character.
the everyday gal.
What is the universal culture?
Le muy characterino.
What is the universal culture between the monsters and humans? It's a little complicated. We don't get into that much in the series, but it's heavily implied that they're kind of like outcasts in society, because in issue 1, they flat out say that Frankenstein's the only one willing to hire them.
Yeah, when you say that, that makes sense.
Have
I
you
mean, that was essentially just the whole concept going forwards.
Maybe
In
because I
fact,
wasn't here early. Have you shown Anderson?
we have not shown Anderson. In fact, maybe we should play up the suspense on Anderson.
All right,
I was about to even ask, do we even have a render of Anderson?
we do, I think.
I mean, we have concept art.
Hold on. I remember that we do. If not, then oh well.
If we do not, then this project will have failed.
Thank you, Dennis Prager.
Yeah, I remember. We do.
I am Dennis Prager.
It's not done.
All right, well, let's get on that. Maybe we can update that in the campaign.
Do you want me to send it to you?
Yeah, but in the meantime, let's talk about Claire.
Like,
It's the normal one.
Claire is kind of the token human in the cast. And
I love that that's a term now just for this comic, token human.
yeah,
Tolkien.
Deathhead's like just your everyday black suit. That is actually far closer than you think it is. 'Cause okay, we'll get to Anderson in a bit. Let's talk about Claire first.
Don't get distracted.
Yeah, so when it came to Claire, I don't know what it was, but I thought a female main character for Monster Hospital would have worked better than a man. That, and I wanted a... Yeah, she literally is the POV. In fact, she a good comparison I can make is that she's kind of like the Phoenix Wright, where she does have a personality, but she's also kind of basic so that it's not really distracting. She's really the only one whose thoughts you actually know throughout the series. And if something happens in the show, it's most likely going to come from her eyes.
And how wonderful it is to just see stuff from the normal person's perspective.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and part of the reason why I really like Claire as a main character is because, one, it was actually a different change of pace from, like, writing dudes all the time, because Claire is actually the first female main character I've ever written.
Ah, there you go.
And after, like, 10 years of Matt and Dusty, I kind of wanted a change, and what bigger change than, than the opposite gender?
Though, to be fair, she sort of has a Matt sort of centric aura tied to her, but that's just me guessing. I poke fun.
Yeah.
It's like, and when it comes to her
Unlike
design,
Matt, she's not a punching bag.
Hey, well, at least most of the time.
She's... she's not just like the token human. She's actually human in more ways than one. I wanted a female character that actually kind of made mistakes and actually learns from them. A character who actually wants to help, even if she doesn't know exactly how to do that. And even though she is meant to be kind of like a reader insert character, I did want her to have just a little bit of personality so she didn't feel like a piece of cardboard.
Also, Frankenhole exists. Thank you, Terry. The wonderful words of wisdom.
But yeah, the hospital itself is St. Shelley's named after Mary Shelley, who created Frankenstein.
If I'm remembering correctly, there wasn't really a clear-cut name for the hospital when it was originally conceptualized, and then it was only after like I had to like hear a little more, and then I was like, okay, so head doctor is Frankenstein. Frankenstein was run by Mary Shelley, so why don't you just go with some like St. Shelley's Memorial Hospital or something?
Yeah, and then I ran with that,
and then he's sitting there. He's like, yeah, let's roll with that, and then we're rolling with that.
Yeah, and then a little later than that, I realized, hey, you know what? Frankenstein is kind of like the start of all these classic monsters, so it kind of fits even better than we thought.
Ha ha! It all comes full circle.
Yes?
I'm just coughing.
Oh.
So, when are we talking about the black suit?
I just want to I was going to mention about her design. It's just a very, straightforward character, and something that doesn't stand out much. But I think it's more preferable to keep it that way, so it doesn't. Because she is mundane. She is the mundane, every person, right?
Yeah, to use if I had to make another Office reference, she's essentially Pam from The Office.
And if I'm also remembering, like, at least in, like, concept art for her, when she was designed, like, it was very much one that we immediately, like, gravitated towards. The only thing that we really had was, like, our only big thing was, like, can you make this shirt a little baggier so it doesn't look like so she can kind of hide the hourglass figure a little more? Because I don't know if anyone's noticed, but like for the females that we have shown off, like for the most part, there is a bit of a Hartman hips sort of thing going on, among other things.
Don't blame me.
But yeah, when it came to Claire, I
blame our pervy audience. I blame all of you perverts in the audience. You're the reason why we have to draw Hartman. You're the reason we have to use Hartman hips on our characters now.
Yeah, when it came to Claire, I wanted her design to be, like, appealing to look at. Maybe even cute, but I didn't want her over-sexualized because...
Oh, yeah.
Not because of social justice, but because I didn't want, like, her body distracting the reader.
Didn't really make sense given her character.
Yeah. Besides, we have like a whole character based around sexualization, so
yeah, and the joke for her is that she just can't get any,
despite being a living porn actress.
Well, we all know
again
that the sex monster is
totally
Steve.
Should have expected that to happen with Lilith. Shame that Rule 34 will
Yeah,
be made of her and everyone else in the comic.
Yeah, what you're seeing on screen right now, this is like the original design I had for Claire, like way back when I was first conceptualizing Claire, and as you can tell, like, what Xavier did was that he basically just took what I came up with and made it better.
Made her just a little less of a cutting board. Shame that Rule 34 Shame that Rule 34 will be made of her and everyone else in the comic. You know what? As much as we hate to admit it, you're
You know what?
absolutely
Fuck it.
right.
I'm gonna make a folder
We're totally
specifically
expecting
for
it.
that now.
God damn it, Chalice! Now look what you started.
Bring it on.
He is prepared for all of it. Yes, even the mind break, especially the mind break.
We are not afraid. We are men.
We have seen far worse in our lifetimes. Okay, so yeah, that's Claire. So anyways, the black suit?
Yeah, let's talk about Anderson. Anderson. The thing about Anderson is that the one quirk about Anderson is that nobody quite knows what he is.
Well, we know what he is, but you guys don't know what he is yet.
Yeah, and the cast doesn't know who he is. All they know is that he came from the Department of Health and Human Services one day, and he's been sent to shut down St. Shelley's due to a large amount of preventable deaths. But despite being the villain, he's also incredibly fair. He's not going to shut down St. Shelley's as long as there isn't an overwhelming need to do so.
Ah, yes. Tough but fair. Perfect for the man that you want looking over your shoulder every waking moment. Charting down every single fuck up. That's exactly what you want to encourage you and to save lives and shit. Anderson is a fairy leprechaun from the planet Venus.
Yeah,
Works
Anderson.
For the IRS.
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, slow clap for Chalice. She figured out the puzzle.
Truth be told, Anderson's design isn't exactly like the most exciting, which is why we're holding back on it, honestly.
Well, that's also like the part of his charm because he's kind of plain too, but it's the fact that there's like his plainness instead of like enforcing some sort of relatability on him like it would have for Claire, it gives him more of a very notable sense of otherness. So like compare him to like everyone else, you definitely know he doesn't belong there, but he's there anyway.
Like, keep in mind, you're in a hospital full of monsters and he's the scariest thing there. That says something. Yep.
He's like the shadow of death, just quietly watching and judging you.
You turn around and suddenly he's there. One-handed clap.
But you're right what you say about of how he looks. He's plain, but there's a certain mystery towards him because he doesn't have like a noticeable design with him.
Yeah, because the thing with him is like his plainness is not really is not like welcoming or relatable like
it's like Claire. It's like if you're standing in a room that's completed. It's like if you're standing in a room that's painted all white.
It's like really off-putting. It's kind of uncanny in a sense to like have this really slick, but at the same time very dark, very monochromatic color matched up to everyone else. I mean, I say this, but like the whole comics just inks, so they're inks in black and white, so it's not entirely.
Hey, even inks and whites and grays have life to it. With him, He just absorbs it. He's a void.
Is that why the comic is grayscale?
It's because all of the other It's because all the other colors would burn their retinas.
All the other colors are scared of Anderson. That's why. That's
No,
why it's grayscale.
The only
There's
character.
just somewhere in like a stray corner of the hospital, hiding in a garbage can, is like a little giant blob of colors. The only thing of colors in the thing, and just kind of poking out from the garbage can, is like, is the scary man in the suit gone?
In real life, there is no color, except Steve. He is all the colors, but we can't see it because our eyes cannot see all kinds of different colors.
Right. So instead, he allows
Unless
us
you're
to see
shrimp.
what colors we see of him.
Unless you're a shrimp.
So you're saying he's a chameleon squid man?
He is rainbow itself. In all the spectrums. That's another thing. I did want to make him
Okay.
like he is the color from outer space. Another Lovecraftian monster.
Yes. Color itself, terrifying, unexplainable. Alright, so, fuck. Gone through most... Oh, wait a minute. Hell,
I
do we
think-
actually...
there's
Isn't
one
there
more
someone we're
character.
missing?
Okay, there is one more character, but I think we'll let everyone else be surprised about that one.
Alright, fine, whatever. Oh,
And no, it's not
also,
the leprechaun.
I just remembered the other character that was sort of scrapped because we didn't know what else to do with her
A witch.
was, yes, the witch nurse. Okay, that was a character that we had originally conceptualized.
Actually, there
that
were
was literally
two.
that was just a witch nurse, and like her shtick was that she was sort of like an herbal witch, or like someone who worked in like nature magic. And the joke was that no one believed her when she said she could perform magic, despite all of the monsters around her. And the only other character that was like made by proxy was this crazy homeless guy that wanted to prove that she was a witch, but no one believed him. Some old homeless witch hunter.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why we axed that was I think it was just too much even for us.
I don't know. I might have some potential for that. I don't know.
But the whole idea of like
I'm not
herbalism-
hinting at anything. What are you talking about?
I will say the whole idea of like herbalism did end up in like another comic, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Van Helsing, but he's a homeless vagrant.
That was essentially his character. I keep telling you, the woman's a witch.
Okay, and
That's just it. She's a witch. Saw her casting magic lights from her hands.
If we were gonna add a Van Helsing, it has to be Mel Brooks.
It's just Mel Brooks, homeless Van Helsing.
Witch.
Just
Raise
literally,
a witch.
Mel Brooks, but he has like the very distinctive, like super exaggerated Mad Max voice. A witch.
She is a witch. I tell you.
Yeah, hopefully we've sold you guys on the comic so far. It's 30 to 40 pages, it's manga formatted, it's, as we said before, it's grayscale. Yes, we've shown you all colored renders, but part of the reason why we went with grayscale is because we wanted the whole feel, we wanted to give you guys like sort of like a classic B movie feel with this.
It totally wasn't because colors will take too long to get the pages done, we swear.
Why would you do this to my poor innocent heart?
We swear it's not it's not like that.
Please.
I trusted you with my credit card information and you gave it out to the Fortnite gamers. You know what? Fuck it. Let's make that a line.
Fucking minimalism, baby. Well, yeah. It's that's sort of the other reason.
It actually,
it's also the fact that like grayscale is like very much reminiscent of like old horror movies, so it's basically just there as an homage.
Yeah, it's
so there's like, hey, old horror movies are black and white. Our comic can be black and white. Maybe there's a connection.
Honestly, it looks better than it looks better than it sounds. The comic page from the reveal trailer is actually on the crowdfunding thing. It's one of the first things you see. And that will give you a good idea of how the final book is going to look. But the cover is full color.
Yee. Sort of like that nice splash art like B horror movies did, like back in the 60s and 70s. Like the Hammer films.
They were color though.
Yeah, the covers of the comic are in color.
The movies were in color too. The Hammer ones.
All right, my joke has been lost.
Very lost. You lost me.
Damn it.
Help, I'm lost. I don't know where I'm going.
For some reason I'm at the soup store.
Why you buy clothes at the soup store? Wow, I had a stroke.
First off, that is not how that line goes at all. Secondly, fuck you. Okay, never mind.
Why are you buying clothes at the soup store?
Fuck you! There will be a point in time where we will actually where we may actually do that word for word at one point.
You know what? I feel like we could make that like a mini comic in between issues.
It's just fucking Codeman stuff. Oh,
no,
God.
Just specifically that scene.
I was like, hey, where are you? He's like, hey, where are you? I need your help.
Oh, I'm at the soup dimension.
Well, I can't. I'm playing close.
Oh, well, can you hurry up? No, you see, I'm stuck in the soup dimension.
Well, I can't. Well, here's the thing. I can't find him. There's only soup.
What do you mean there's only soup?
It means there's only soup.
Well, then get out of the soup aisle.
All right, you don't have to shout at me. There's still more soup.
What do you mean there's more soup?
There's just more soup.
Where are you right now?
I'm at soup.
What do you mean you're at soup?
I mean I'm at soup.
What store are you in?
I'm at the soup store.
Why are you buying clothes at the soup store?
Fuck you. It's basically just that. You ever see Codeman? Go watch Codeman. Codeman's funny.
Oh, yeah.
Exclusively for Lelouch and Suzaku. They're hilarious.
You know, I love how that one scene, that one exchange is more famous than the entirety of the series it comes from.
Nunnally, we have to kill the Tooth Fairy!
You know, at one point, the same guy tried doing, like, an abridging of One Piece called None Piece.
Oh, he absolutely did. But anyways, was there anything else that we...
space!
Okay, okay, so with that in mind, is there anything else that we need to, bring up right now in regards to, other stuff we have to reveal at the moment for Monster Hospital? Aside from the fact that we have merchandise. Hey, did you find out? Hey, did you guys know we have merchandise? We have merchandise.
Yes, we have merch. Let me pull up the link. So, you might, if you looked at the page, which I'm gonna link again, just in case you didn't click on it before.
Like and subscribe.
We're still waiting on that $100 drop, Chalice.
You fools.
Come on,
Tricked you.
Chalice.
What are you so scared of?
Don't
It's
threaten
just
us with a good time. So, we decided when planning the actual campaign that stuff like pins, t-shirts, mouse pads, whatever, shouldn't belong in the actual crowdfunding campaign. It kind of clogs it up. Plus, we would have to be responsible for making all that. Fortunately, there's a site that does that for us. It's called Redbubble, and if you go on like the link that we put in the description, or if you're watching this live, the chat, you'll see that we actually have merch. We actually have like all the characters that we showed off tonight already have like designs you can get in the Redbubble shop.
With more designs for stuff in the works.
Right. And let's just say that you're not a fan of comics, you don't want to, or you don't have enough money to fund the comic. That's fine. Just take the crowdfunding link and spread it as far as you can. Or if you're really or if you love the characters that much, buy some merch of them.
There's gonna be a Steve t-shirt.
I've seen it. Looks good. There's also gonna be a Wendell one.
It's just gonna be t-shirts for literally everybody.
We're gonna make the little happy,
Well, except maybe Lilith, because we can't fit her on a t-shirt.
Well, I mean, you could, but it would just be really, really stretchy.
We could also make the little crude smiley face as a sticker. Or a coffee mug.
Or just a mug.
Do it!
It will be the quintessential part for everyone's Houdini cosplay.
Which should be really easy. Step 1, get some suspenders. Step 2, grab a Sharpie and draw it all over your face. Step 3, grab the mug.
Super simple. Not that much money.
But yeah, when it comes to the campaign itself, I think we should go over, like, the perks that we got.
Yeah, perks. We got them.
So as we said before, like, you won't be getting a t-shirt or pins or anything. If you want that kind of stuff, go to the Redbubble shop. But if you want to get the comic itself, the Indiegogo is live. And the first tier is a simple thank you. Like, no matter how much you donate, we do want to give you, no matter how much you contribute, even if you don't get the comic itself, you will be featured in the back of the book. And that's where, like, the first perk, the thank you, comes in. After that, it's a digital copy, which is $12 in American money.
We didn't bother calculating that and everywhere else.
And finally, as Chalice has been bragging about the whole night, $100 gets you a cameo in the book. This is up to 8 people, and how it works is that you or a human original character of yours is going to be drawn in as a background character in the book.
Be
No, you're
forever
not going to get a drawing of yourself being squeezed by Steve's thighs.
Come! Pay $100 and be forever immortalized inside our comic.
But so far, project is
Whoa,
been
we
a lot of
just
fun
bounced up to
working on it.
$212.
2 cameos!
Holy shit, I did not expect that, honestly. I swear, Chalice Spot 2!
If you did, we will admit that is absolutely
I
dedication.
didn't even mention the
but
part
aside
where
the point,
I didn't even mention the part where if you grab a cameo, you get like you get like the comic as part of it.
Oh boy, this shall be fine. Okay. Well, aside from everything else, don't know what else I can add to this conversation.
Same.
What else that we are supposed to be revealing?
You know, I was gonna plan like streams for Monster Hospital all this weekend, but I think we already ran out of stuff to talk about for now.
That's what happens when you're only working on one issue.
But yeah, this is hopefully we get enough to back issue 1, and essentially if we end up making a lot more money than like the 5,000 we're asking for, then we'll have enough money to actually continue making these after. But I think this is actually, you know what? This would be a good time. Do you want to do a Q&A or do you want to save that for Sunday?
That would depend. Did you want to get a quick Q&A thing done?
I think we can answer a few questions before we turn off the stream.
Yeah, sure. I don't see why not. I'm sure people are probably curious.
All right.
You know, asking for questions within reason that aren't spoiler territory.
Yeah, we'll let you know if we can answer it. Will there be a Mothman? Yes, there is a Mothman. He'll be in the background, but he will be there. Xander, quick, add the Mothman.
Hurry up! They're asking. They really are interested in just seeing someone just stare at lights all day.
I got nothing. The only thing I have is the Rule 63 version, though.
Add it in.
Put it in the picture.
I want to imagine that the Rule 63 version of like the Mothman is literally the same head, but it's just like a supermodel body.
It's just a Mothman head on Lilith's body.
It's like the Mothman head just copy and pasted on a Sports Illustrated model.
Exactly. Although for the Mothman, he would have the poster of a sexy moth lady, but he would replace the face with a light bulb.
That is a good gag.
It's a light bulb. It's like, ooh, it's got 300 volts.
I kind of I actually kind of want to. What services does Houdini offer? He offers. Well, one, he's a therapist. He's also one of the older staff, so he does tend to have more experience.
But generally speaking, it's therapy and general psychiatry work. At least, if I can recall correctly, Slacker knows of the characters far more than I do.
Yeah, they're. But be. But being a mind reader plus the experience, Houdini has a very uncanny ability to pretty much get everything right. That's just an uncanny thing. Like, he's always right about everything to the point where it's almost creepy.
Eerily so.
And yes, that does come up in his issue.
Uh-huh. So, does anyone else in the chat have questions? Anybody at all?
Give it a minute. You know how chat works. Since you're the creator of other IPs, are any gonna have background cameos?
This is one I'm actually very curious to learn.
I think I'll just leave that as a surprise.
God damn it! You point the question out and then you don't answer it. That's not how Q&As work. Well, that was sort of an answer.
But yeah, honestly, Monster Hospital is kind of like one of the few things under Brainfreezerrr right now. Monster Hospital is just the beginning, so as Monster Hospital goes along and like more of the projects that we've been working on start to come to light, like I wouldn't put it past us to sneaks like some reference in between.
Any other questions?
Yes, were there any other questions?
Well, chat?
We're waiting.
This may not be answering a question, but I am planning to stream working on the pages.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where that's going to be streamed, but if you're a part of the Brainfreezerrr Discord, you will get a notification of when that goes live. So this isn't a grift. We actually are working on this. Xavier is actually going to be streaming page progress live. Can I hug Wendell?
Yes. I say yes.
Technically, yes.
He
Just
certainly
don't smell
looked.
like cheese boigus.
He certainly looked fluffy enough.
It's like hugging a teddy bear.
Except the teddy bear is constantly eating the flesh of recently deceased people. He shouldn't be, but he can't help himself.
You know, like you do.
A little hint towards what Wendell's episode's about.
We all do. I think Mothman would be the fluffiest.
Yeah, I think I would hug Mothman.
I'm surprised Wendell and not Wolfgang's form.
Well, I wouldn't really hug Wolfgang as much as I would give him a high five.
Guys high five him, ladies hug him.
And then other people, well, just kind of look at him and say, "Hey, how's it going?" So, any other questions?
Oh, somebody bought a third cameo. Is that Chalice? Did she finally bite?
Tell the truth.
Okay, I actually don't recognize that name, so I have no idea who that is.
If he's shifting reality, can he even eat food?
If Steve is always shifting... Oh, Terry donated.
Nice.
Thank you. It means a lot,
Cool.
actually.
Cool. Terry
Hey,
Bogard.
come on.
Terry Bogard is gonna be cameoing somewhere in Monster Hospital.
Wait a minute, this isn't Terry Bogard, it's just Matt.
just some random, just some random, like he's like somewhere in the back, like in the recreational area for the hospital is just instead
If Steve is always shifting reality, can he ever eat food? Yes. I think we should make a gag of him eating something.
just eating it in the most obscene way possible.
The way I see Steve actually talking is that he doesn't exactly have a mouth, but his tentacles move. Kind of like how when some characters have like beards, you don't see their mouth moving, but you see their beard moving.
Have you ever seen any old cartoons where like characters that have really, really long mustaches? It's basically kind of like that.
Yeah. Except it's with tentacles.
There, I drew Mothman. Precious. Boink.
Oh, he actually looks kind of cute.
He has a tiny little hat and like the little handyman belt.
Should I put it on screen?
Do it.
I mean, you might as well.
Ah, here he is. Look at him!
Precious. He's too precious.
He's so
He's
precious, he's
one.
only a background character.
Well, you know that meme. It's like the guy was moving all the main characters,
Yes.
and it's like I like the one character from the background.
You made the tiger being very happy. You done it!
Yush.
Well, we certainly know who's going to get merchandise now.
Right.
Watch a background character and gets like some sort of stuff in the merchandise, and then suddenly he gets expanded to be a main character.
Why do I feel like he has like a relationship with like a Jessica Rabbit type character, and then she's like, "Darling, this could never work between us. I'm a human. You're a moth. What would they say?" And then without even blinking, it just goes, bzzz.
Or no, like he can't really make noise, but instead he like makes the noise of like randomly like flapping his wings, like. Step 1 is done. Step 2 is starting. Pick up the pace. If you can and have $100 to spare, you can totally be immortalized in the first issue. Watch the Mothman actually be in a relationship with like a Bride of Frankenstein character who has like, instead of like the little screws in her neck, instead has little screws that look like Christmas lights.
I should point out, this is not every single character in the series. There's plenty more characters that are coming, but this is just like all the major characters of like issue 1. But I think that's it for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems that way.
I think we'll try to have our next episode be on Sunday. I don't know what it's going to be about, but if we've already run out of things to talk about Monster Hospital wise, but the whole next month is going to be, the purpose of the episodes is really just going to be us promoting Monster Hospital, trying to get more people on board for that. So, I've been Slacker.
And I've been Xander.
I've been Shadow.
Thanks to everyone who donated. Hopefully, you won't be the only ones. And we'll see you next time.
See you under the knife, everybody.
Bye.